Jags, obviously, a really disappointing football team this season. No Trevor Lawrence in this game. They're holding him out once again because they got a bye week next week. It's his non-throwing shoulder, but he is not playing in this game. I watched the line for this one open with the Lions obviously being favored, but I think they were favored by like, I don't know, 3-4-ish points. Last time I checked, they're favored by 13 and a half.
I was going to say it's got to be like 2 scores at this
which is a lot of points in the NFL. But give me a matchup that matters here, one way or the other, whether it's the fact that the Lions you think are going to dominate, or maybe the Jags can make it a little bit more interesting. What do you got?
Yeah, I think if the Lions offensive line can be punctured at all, the Jaguars defensive line is going to need to try to do that essentially and get Jared Goff out of his rhythm. We've seen him be able to fight back, even though he had 4 interceptions last game. This is something that this team, the Lions are the most resilient team in the league. They have the best belief in themselves. The vibes are through the roof. Dan Campbell is a coach of the year candidate. They're never out of it. But if you can affect the line and therefore affect Jared Goff, you can make him make some of those mistakes and then hopefully capitalize on them to the point where the Lions can't catch up. I think that's kind of the only strategy or the only hope here for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are without Trevor Lawrence, and therefore I am questioning how many points they can put on the board to keep pace with these guys. In order to do that, you got to stay on the field as the Jaguars offense, but then when you are on defense, just try to affect that line. It's hard to do when that line is so good.
Right.
70 pressures allowed in pass protection. That's the 4th fewest. They've got the best PFF grade overall, 82.3. They've got a 82.6 run blocking grade even. So even if it's not Jared Goff that you're trying to affect, if you can disrupt that run game, that can play a factor too. But it hasn't been the case with this line run blocking as well as they have. Pass blocking grade is 13th in the league. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy there, but I don't know, man. It's going to be really hard. The Jags have a 18th ranked pass rushing grade, and obviously their leader in pressure is Josh Hines-Allen. So can he we'll see if Taylor Decker ends up going this week. I expect him to. He didn't practice on Wednesday, their left tackle, but they've been able to make up for that in the last games that he's missed. So I don't really even see that being a weakness at this point.
Yeah, it was 4 turnover-worthy plays, but it was 5 interceptions actually.
5 interceptions. It wasn't 4.
5.
You're right.
It was 4 turnover-worthy plays, but it was in our book, but it was 5 interceptions that he had. And this is my stat, but just to sort of build off of what you said there, Goff had been better under pressure, certainly at the beginning of the season and at points in last season as well. But really over the last month, he's tied once again for the NFL lead in turnover-worthy plays when pressured. So he's kind of reverting back a little bit here. Now, like you said, the Lions don't let him get pressured a ton. They're one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And so that's obviously to their advantage. But the way that Goff's been playing over the last month, if you pressure him, he's been putting the ball in harm's way. So he's regressed a little bit in that area. So obviously that's an area where, okay, if the Jags can have success, maybe they have a chance here. I think the Jags' run defense against the Lions running backs also means a lot, because I think the Lions probably feel that Goff's been struggling a little bit, certainly coming off a 5 interception game. And not that they're not going to trust him. They'll still throw the ball plenty on this offense. But let's face it, they're better than Jacksonville. Now, they're not going to disrespect Jacksonville and take it easy on them. I don't think that a Dan Campbell team is going to do that. But if they can win by just running the ball, you better believe they're going to win by just running the ball. So how the Jags fare in run defense, I think, means a lot in this one. When you look at their run defense as a team, 12th in EPA per rush allowed, which is not bad, but 23rd in total rushing yards allowed, 6th most rushing touchdowns allowed, 5th most rushes of 10 yards or more allowed. So it's not great, especially when you're going up against Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, which is the only running back duo in the league with 500 rushing yards apiece heading into week 11. So, like I said, if the Lions can have a game where Jared Goff goes 17 for 19 throwing, they're going to do it. And unfortunately, I think the script kind of lines up that way for Jacksonville. Yeah. So it's got to be one of their better run defense games that they have had so far this season. I'll just keep going and stay on the Lions side of things with my plus factor here. And that is sort of Zadarius Smith getting input into this lineup. What does this pass rush look like? They've been able to come on a little bit, certainly over the last couple of weeks, and sort of recoup losing Aiden Hutchinson. Not that you could replace him in any way, shape, or form, but it was going to be interesting how they evolved their defensive line strategy, because it was so much around setting up Hutchinson to win. And when I say that, I don't take anything away from Hutchinson. They were doing it, and they were smart to do it that way because he was on like a historic pace, and he was rewarding them because of how dominant he was one-on-one, winning with a high pass rush win rate. I think the pass rush win rate was like between 40 and 50%, which is just insane for a season, even for as many games as he played. What was the pass rush plan going to look like as a team without him? And adding Zadarius Smith in there, I think it allows them to stay more multiple. I don't think that they're going to put Zadarius Smith just in that Aiden Hutchinson role. I think they're going to get more multiple. They've started to blitz a little bit more since Hutchinson has been down. So they're going to get a little bit more diverse with how they attack the passer. So in a game where I think they should handle things in a win-loss perspective, for me, the takeaway is going to be, what's this front look like? Well, how are they continuing to evolve their strategy here? And I just did want to shout out noted Michigan man Dave Safaro, who does a lot of our research, made sure to put in the notes, Hutchinson could come back for the Super Bowl. Could. I wouldn't bet against him. I wouldn't bet against him. That's all I'm saying. So who's your plus factor in this game?
Yeah, it goes along with that because I am very interested to see how Zadarius Smith affects the pass rush, given how when Aiden Hutchinson was in, so much of the defensive strategy, especially up front, was figuring out how to isolate one-on-one matchups for Aiden Hutchinson and kind of slide the defensive line and therefore the opposing offensive line one way to kind of get him one-on-one with those guys that he could just dominate, right? In the games that Aiden Hutchinson has not been there for the Detroit Lions, they have involved more guys in the blitz their blitz packages. They blitzed more, in fact, because they know that they weren't counting on getting pressure with 4 the way they were with Aiden Hutchinson in the lineup. And I'm wondering how much Zadarius Smith kind of impacts that. Do you could just kind of add him to those blitz packages and you kind of keep it more multiple like you were talking about? Or do you try to kind of get him isolated into those matchups that you were giving Aiden Hutchinson prior to this? I don't know the answer to it. I do know, though, and these are my plus factor, that it's going to depend on the play, and thank goodness, of the interior of that defensive line, which is Alim McNeill and DJ Reader. These guys, I cannot shout them out enough. I saw the Lions official account did highlights of Alim McNeill from this last game. Thank God. I love it. I absolutely adore it because these guys are the reason that the Detroit Lions have not missed a step defensively, even with Aiden Hutchinson out. They are factors in the pass rush. They are getting pressure from the interior. They are also eating up blockers, and they are leading the way for this run defense. They are doing so many wonderful things. And it's leading to pressure despite the fact that, again, you lost the best pass rusher in the league. 190 pressures from the Lions defense this season. That's tied for the second most. 130 quarterback hurries. That's second most in the league. They're 7th in EPA per play against, only 16 touchdowns allowed. That's the 5th fewest overall for this defense. And again, that goes back to even, the best safety tandem in the league in Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph too, that you can kind of rely on those guys on the back level. But it starts up front in Aaron Glenn's defense, and I cannot shout out DJ Reader and Alim McNeill enough. That DJ Reader pickup in free agency this year, I know Lou Anarumo personally, told me that how mad he was that DJ Reader was no longer on the Cincinnati Bengals and how much he was going to miss him. And clearly this is why. So there was a tremendous pickup by Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions, playing alongside Alim McNeill. I want to go on and on about them because they deserve it.
So what you're saying is you're not betting on the Mac Jones revival game this week. We'll wait till next week for the Mac Jones revival game.
How insane would that be if, after pulling these wins out, even when they're down and whatever, that it's the Mac Jones-led Jacksonville Jaguars that dooms the Lions in their second loss of the season.
Hometown hero. Now playing for his hometown team with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Hey, he is Florida man through and through. So.
100%. 100% he is. I don't think it's going to help him this week, but he is. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can come one today.